Hi folks, nanotransformation.com. This is not a very well lighted video, but it was a quick and dirty because we want to introduce you to some topics, just some top layer topics that we have in the book, Got Body Bugs and How to Survive the Transgenic Revolution. We want to give you a general overview. First of all, what's interesting is that step one is skin and hair. Most people have indicators that they've been infected by something along the spectrum in this transgenic kind of revolution. Super scabies, super strongyloids, bird mites is what some people think they have. It's almost never that. There's all kinds of weirdness happening in this kingdom. Okay, and here's the bottom line. The biggest indicator is itchy, bitey things on your skin. Sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. You have them crawling in your hair. You might even have a case of lice that precedes another weird kind of infection. That's why we say you have to take care of skin and hair first. That's all in the book. Okay, now this is something that you can deal with immediately. Then you have to jump to lungs and ears. Because if your infection has moved to a place where not just the itching and the biting and sometimes even weird fibers and colors, and people think you're crazy because you think you have clothing fibers growing out of your skin, we know what you're talking about. We know that we know that you know that we know that you're not making it up. It's not delusions of parasites, okay? But the next step is if that stuff moves to your lungs, the super strongyloid-like behavior of this cross-vector infection, it can be fatal. And so there's very few documented cases of people dying from so-called Morgellons. But like anything else, that's really because nobody really knows what any of it is. So it's a question of how the case is covered. We deal directly with how to get out of the lungs. That's why deal with your skin and hair, deal with your lungs and ears. If you have anything moving around in your ears whatsoever, forget scabies, forget bird mites, forget mites of any kind. I'm going to repeat this again. Forget mites of any kind. You are dealing with a super hybrid nematode type infection, which we talk about in the book. And you need to really look at this carefully because if you feel movement in your ears, you're dealing with a complex disease that is not a mite anymore. Okay, there are no vectors for scabies in the ears in recorded history, and this is documented by the true researchers in mites. Once you've taken care of this, meaning you have your supplies and your protocols on demand on a daily basis for skin and hair, this includes your bath supplies. We give you full coverage of bath. You need this before you begin to venture up and out into your environment because sometimes you're going to get so reinfected and reinfested that you need to go back into the right bath protocol. You need to go back into the right salt bath protocol, all these things which we lay out for you. You need this as a backup. You need to know that your arsenal of bath cleaning and self-body cleaning protocols that work are there so that you can get your sleep, so that you can get your bath. So before you attack your environment properly, which we lay out, and there's only a couple ways you can do it when you're dealing with a super strongyloid type nematode infection, which is a cross between Morgellons and later body bugs, you really need to have these backup plans. We're covering all of that in the book. So the environment is third. Then, as you begin to get a handle on your skin and hair issues, your lungs and ears issues, the environment issues, then you can start dealing with cells and blood to get rid of the vifunguria, or viteria, or the stealth virus or the stealth viral bacteria aspect of this. You can maybe even call it a plasmid or a bacteriophage. It's an extremely complex disease, and there's a lot of stuff being learned about how many layers of the nematode bacteriophage-virus have been utilized. Remember, nematodes are only the delivery system for something else, which is essentially a bacteria. You need to understand that. But the indicators of that delivery system being active in your body is your skin and hair and your lungs and your ears being infected. These tips right here would have saved us about $15,000. We're giving them to you for free. Okay, we want to help as many people as possible. At the same time, we have written a book and we want to put that out there, and we've given it a really reasonable price because we really, not only did we spend a ton of our money coming together and putting this research, but we want you for a reasonable price to be able to have access to this material and not the thousands of dollars we paid for experts and all these other things. And the experts were good. We'll show you exactly when who and how you should approach experts in this field. Outside of the cells and the blood, there is biofilm. Okay, once you reach the pinnacle, you want to move outside of this little hierarchy. Okay, because remember, these vectored organisms are not hierarchical, they're not vertical. They're actually lateral. There's lateral gene transfer. We talk about that inside the book. Biofilm is where a lot of the gene swapping is taking place in your upper intestines. It's known that nematodes, super-nematodes, all the weirdness that you have, and especially the bacterial gene swapping, thanks to agrobacteria and other things that have been brought to market through the big ag and the rest. That's where a lot of the strange bacteria swapping and gene swapping with bacteria is happening, is in the upper intestines. Biofilm is where it all goes down. It's real similar to the sea mucus phenomenon in environmentalism. Inside there, you have this stuff going on, and there's tons of research done. We actually show you some of the tips in your diet about how to start getting rid of biofilm, okay, and the plaque where these things hide out. In summary, in conclusion, skin and hair, sunlight or light in general, and far infrared. In fact, the whole light spectrum is our primary area of research. At the top with biofilm, light and the infrared and the whole light spectrum is the area of great research right now. We cover all this in the book as well. Because the body bug phenomenon, when you start attracting bugs like columbola, things from the hexapod kingdom that have been here prior to the ice age that start living and growing in your skin, if you go that far, which some people really do, that's not just based on silicone implants and all these other things. It's based on a complex bifungia that's in the blood. That is our opinion and our theory after vectoring the information of the experts. We are not doctors, we are not microbiologists, but when we applied these templates to our own lives, we began to immediately heal at the fundamental levels of the body. So we were doing something right. So it's worth considering this conceptual model as a possible infection vector. Okay? So remember, at the end, sunlight, unless you're experiencing severe lupus or any of the other anti-sun diseases, which you need to shift your diet, and it's really complex. Don't avoid the sunlight. Make sure you're doing a lot of the things that will allow you to be in the sunlight. Even if you can only do it for 2 minutes a day, you need to realize that vitamin D is a huge factor, and that's a giveaway. We cover all of this. You can return to thriving health. You can return to a place of normalcy, but you need to go ahead and accept what's happening and understand the organic principles in effect. Also have a conscious understanding of how the world is changing, why it's changing, and the simple things you can do to push these things out. This is me, R, from nanotransformation.com. We look forward to seeing you on the inside. Be sure to see our book, How to Survive the Transgenic Revolution. Give us much feedback, and we're open to insight. Anything you want to contribute, we're a community. Thank you.